Hello, and welcome to Beyond Biotech, the weekly podcast from Labiotech. I'm Dylan Kassane, and this is episode 184 for the podcast. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Avital Sharir-Ivry, co-founder and chief scientific officer of Profit, an innovative Israeli startup launched in late 2024 from the AION Labs venture studio. With a PhD in computational biology and drug research, Avital brings deep expertise in structural biology, enzyme design, and evolutionary bioinformatics to her role leading Profit's scientific efforts. Profit itself is changing small molecule drug discovery by using advanced AI and machine learning to map proteins and compounds into a shared interaction space. This enables rapid, scalable screening of billions of molecules, even for so-called undruggable targets, without relying on solved structures or massive datasets, speeding up hit finding and expanding the reachable therapeutic landscape. As we mark the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, Avital's leadership as a female CSO and entrepreneur highlights inspiring progress in the field. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Avital as we explore Profit's technology, the place of AI in small molecule discovery, the challenges and opportunities for women in biotech, and what's ahead for this exciting company.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Maybe you can start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself. Take us way back. Where did you get your first taste for science?
Okay, so I didn't grow up with the scientists in the family. Mother is a teacher, father is worked in bank, but I was a very curious child, and I was encouraged to study, but science was not on the radar. And I love dancing, traveling, reading, but I wasn't particularly interested in science from young age. I remember thinking it's something that boys like. And the turning point came in 11th grade. We went to a field trip to the Weizmann Institute of Science. There, I remember sitting and listening. There were scientists that presented their projects and how they solved the questions. And I remember I was sitting there and having this enormous aha moment. And I told myself, wait a minute, you can get a job where you're supposed to be curious, to ask questions, to use your analytical thinking to solve the questions. And I felt that this is exactly what I was meant to be. It was just a moment where I realized that. And from then on, I became focused on that, on being a scientist.
Where did you go on to study? What was it that drew you into biology and chemistry? Where did you learn about it?
Okay, so I was fortunate to get to an excellence program at the Hebrew University in physics and chemistry. I was told then that a good scientist needs to have a multidisciplinary background. So I went and studied both physics and chemistry. Interestingly, in my first degree, I really disliked computers. I thought they were boring, technical, cold. I came for the science. That was the exciting part for me. And then in one of the summers between the years, I wanted to travel abroad, and I wanted to experience how it is to do some research in a different university in a different country. And I got this opportunity to go to the Imperial College in London. And then I did research in biology, which was very far from what I was studying. And it was a very mind-opening experience for me. Since then, I got this bug to use my physics and chemistry background to study life science problems, to explore disease, how to solve disease. And this is where it started for me. And then when I had to decide what to work on my PhD, so that's what I did. I chose to use quantum chemistry to study enzymes. And then the funny thing is that I actually chose to do it in a computational research, even though I didn't like computers in the beginning. Because what happened is I started to realize that computation is a good way for scientists to test his understanding. I mean, the computer doesn't know science, right? So if you can explain your scientific ideas clearly enough for the computer to make predictions, and those predictions then match reality, so it means you're, as a scientist, it means you're on the right path. And so I started to see computers as a great tool for scientists, and that's why I went to that direction.
So after your schooling, walk me through this career path that took you to where you are now, to co-founding Profit.
Okay, so so in my PhD, I did this like atomic level things, and then I went to do postdoc at McGill University. There, I completely shifted. I went to data-driven research. I was looking for patterns in data of protein structure, protein evolution, and that shift really influenced me. It trained me to do research by looking at the bigger picture, of it, like learning from many examples, thinking in a zoom out kind of way. And then when I was thinking, what am I going to do next? I was looking to make an impact, to do something that is applicable. So I joined a startup that was created by Nobel laureates Roger Cronenberg and Michael Levitt. And it was about computer simulations for drug discovery. And that was a very interesting experience for me, because I led their research group. And on the one hand, we did really the deep science, develop the technology, but also because it was a small startup, I was always sorry. So I was always joined to the strategic discussions, how to make a difference with the technology, how to make it useful, where we can use it. And I discovered that I really loved both. I loved the deep science, but also keep thinking how to make it useful. I also learned there about the big bottleneck in drug discovery. I saw how slow it is, the process, and how we really, I mean, the chemical space that we can test is enormous, and we only get to explore very small fraction of it with experiments, with computer simulations. And then at that time, when I was there, AlphaFold was coming up with their solution to protein structure. And it was amazing to see. And we realized how AI is really starting to make a change in life science problems, in protein science. And I knew that the next thing is going to be how to use AI for drug discovery. And another thing that happened at that time was that AION Labs just launched their challenge, exactly that, of how to use AI to find small molecule drug candidates for protein targets. And that was a great opportunity for me at the right time.
Now, we talked to Matty Gill of AION last year, and he explained how that lab process worked. And it's fascinating and a really interesting way of building businesses. Let's talk about Profit, though, and how it actually emerged from there. What was the original challenge that they set you there that brought this team together?
Mm-hmm. So Matty Gill approached me, and he said, we're launching this challenge. It's coming from pharma. Pharma defined the challenge. And the general challenge is, the pharma will give you a protein sequence. You don't have a lot of information about it. And here are these huge libraries of small molecules. Find the solution, find the right ones out of this big, huge bag of molecules, and rank them. And I thought like the model is really unique, because what I liked is that, first of all, the problem is defined, and it's defined from the real need from out there, from pharma. And then the scientists should come up with a solution, rather than the other way around, where you start from a technology, you're isolated, and then you get to look outside and find what are the problems that I can solve with my technology. Specifically, what happened is I was at that time in a sabbatical in Berkeley, a sabbatical of my husband, and I could not attend the challenge. And I was upset about it. So I told them, keep me in touch. And, whoever wins, please, if they, if someone with my background is going to be relevant, so please keep me in touch and let's talk. And that's exactly what happened. Two people won the challenge, Tom Shani and Amitai Mordechai. And AION and the pharma told them, but you need an extra person with that background exactly. So we got to talk. We immediately clicked and started this. The rest is history.
Tell me a little bit about this founding team. What do the founders actually bring to the team themselves?
Okay, so I think like unique part of Profit is the team. I really like the team. Tom Shani is the CEO. Amitai Mordechai is the CTO. They are both. They have biology background. They both have PhD in biology. And they both shifted towards after their PhD to jobs in big data, AI, machine learning. And I really like to work with people that make shifts, that doesn't do the same all the time. I think it really it gives them a broader perspective of how to solve problems in general. I think it shows a lot about creativity. I think it's a good thing. Together, the three of us, we cover a lot of scientific background together, and we work really well together.
Fantastic. Tell me maybe then in simple terms for someone like myself, what's the
Mhm,
core technology of Profit? How are you using AI? How are you using this computational biology to discover these small molecules for drug discovery?
mhm. So, okay, maybe first I'll start from the problem. Finding the right drug candidates in this astronomical space of molecules. In principle, it's just, I mean, experiments are great, but it's just too much for experiment to cover. And also computer simulations that actually study the interactions. It's just too slow and it's impossible to cover that space. And what happens is that we historically and eventually we work on a very small fraction of the chemical space. So at Profit, we're exploring this vast chemical space. In principle, we represent proteins and small molecules as these compact mathematical representations. We put them in the shared space, and we turn this entire problem, into a search problem, like Google search engine, and we can rapidly score many molecules. So this way, when you go to the lab and you increase your probability of success, and you can save a lot of time and effort.
And you're focusing on the really challenging ones, right? The undruggable targets.
Yes, we are. I want to say something about the term undruggable. So I guess undruggable, at the end of the day, it means that using current tools, looking at the current chemical space, we just didn't succeed yet. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that biologically it's impossible. Um, so we and also these challenging targets, they could be challenging because there isn't a lot of information about them. And experimented simulations, they require a lot of prior info on the target. So we believe that at least some of these targets were simply missed. And with our tools at scale, we can generate and evaluate many hypotheses and tackle these challenging targets.
A couple of weeks ago, we had Claire Waring from Cumulus Oncology on the podcast, and she said she didn't like the term undruggable. She thinks of it as not yet drugged. That's something you would agree with.
Exactly. Yes.
How far along are you in development right now? Are there any early results or partnerships that you can point to?
So we're past the conceptual stage. We have the core idea built and the models are trained. We keep benchmarking ourselves all the time along the way to make sure that we are, at least as good as the state-of-the-art models. I can say there was a recent, a month ago, there was a science paper with a method that's called drug clip that also makes similar way of thinking of making this into a retrieval and search problem. And when we compare our results, we do better. And beyond benchmarks, we develop the platform all the time alongside real experiment. We work with Merck and AstraZeneca, and we test our models on their data. And we also formed several collaborations with other drug discovery companies and with academia. And so we can test and feedback the results back to our model. So that's what we're focusing on right now.
I guess these early collaborations with AZ and Merck, does that come from the way that you were built up via the AION Labs and via those really early problems for pharma challenge that was set there?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So right. So Profit was created by AION. It's a venture studio. It is backed by leading pharmaceutical companies and by the Israel Innovation Authority. And it's unique. Like I said before, it starts from the real pharma challenge, not from technology looking for a problem. And the big advantage is we get to work closely with AstraZeneca and Merck for now. And this working together really keeps us grounded. So we keep all the time to check that we do what is actually needed. Like I said, we get to test our models on their data. And also we have constant conversations with people that actually do the drug discovery. And that helps us make sure that we develop the technology, not in vacuum, make sure that we answer a need. So this unique model helps us. We have this combination of scientific freedom, technology development, but all the time we have this real world alignment.
I guess one of the questions that comes to mind is just what makes you different to other AI tools that are out there or traditional high throughput screenings and things like that. I mean, we get pitches from AI companies every day at Labiotech. What makes Profit different?
Okay, so traditional experiments are valuable, of course, but they're limited by how much you can measure. And traditional computer simulations, the physics-based ones, they're super important, but they're slow, they're expensive, they depend a lot on prior knowledge. You need to know the protein target three-dimensional structure, for example. And AI today, at least as I see it, it is mainly in this field, it's mainly focused on replacing the physical simulations. It's focused on finding this precise binding, exactly how the complex looks like, the protein and the small molecule. It is still not scalable also. It's also limited by data because there isn't a lot of data on these complexes relatively. So we are focused on a different bottleneck. We're focused at the initial stage. We work at scale to explore the options from right at the start and find potential candidates before investing in these high resolution methods. So in practice, these methods are complementary. The detailed binding, the detailed physics is important once you know where to look, but we help define where to look.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into that space now. You're talking about really accelerating things and solving some of those bottleneck problems. Why is it so critical to solve this small molecule discovery problem for pharma today?
Mm-hmm. So small molecules specifically they're one of the most important classes of medicines. First of all, because they're small enough to enter cells, reach targets that other drugs can't. Many of them can be taken as pills, so they're easier for patients to use. They're often more stable, they're less expensive to produce, and so on. So in principle, they're very much desired, but compared to how much they are desired, you don't have enough of what you can potentially have. So it is relates to what I said before. It's one of the challenges is the scale. This vast chemical space that we explore only a fraction of it. I like to think of it as like a person who is going on Earth, and when Earth is dark, and you go with a flashlight and you try to map the Earth and understand where you are only with this flashlight. That's more or less how we do, how we explore the chemistry. There's an interesting paper from last year I saw that shows that the larger the library of small molecules that you test, the higher the heat, so the heat rate increases. So that's very important because it means that it's not only that we sample only a fraction of the possibilities, but we also sample suboptimal part of it. It's not the optimal, it's not where the answer lies, probably. So this is why it's critical to do AI for small molecules, explore this chemical space and not miss solutions that hide very close to us.
Some people worry a little bit that the AI generated molecules or predictions for where to look for these molecules, whether that can really be trusted in drug development. Are there some limitations? Are there some risks there that you're aware of?
Um, I wouldn't necessarily worry about risk because I see AI as helping us ask better questions earlier. And those questions are still tested experimentally. It's not like we ditch experiment completely. Drug discovery has always been about managing uncertainty. And I would actually be more worried about the models being narrow and still giving us the same type of solutions and not from the risk.
What about how you actually have to address where things are really data light or information scarce targets that just haven't been approached conventionally because they haven't been able to do that before the compute
Mhm.
power came in? How do you go into these targets that we just don't have information about?
So we do it in two ways. Um, First, we train on a lot of data at scale. Specifically, us, we only train on sequences, protein sequences. We don't rely on other information. We don't have to have the protein structure, the geometry. So we try to train on a lot of data. That's one thing. But the more important thing, the second thing is that we build confidence we try to push the models away from learning shortcuts. We use data splits, minded data splits. We try to clean the data from data leakage. We test constantly new chemistry performance. And most of all, we work all the time alongside experiment. Like I said, we try to validate our predictions and use that as feedback back to the model. That's the ways we try to address this.
If we're thinking broadly, and obviously Merck and AstraZeneca are already quite involved with AI with you and with others, but are there major pharmaceutical companies that are really leading the way when it comes to investing or partnering with AI companies for small molecule programs? Are there some that come to mind?
I think today, essentially, all large pharma companies are investing in AI, either internally or through partnerships. It feels like it's no longer an option. Everybody is doing that. One thing I see that is new and interesting, I think, is that big tech players like Amazon and NVIDIA, they're moving closer to the science itself, not just selling the compute, but helping define the AI-driven discovery workflows. For small molecule, this matters because discovery depends on scale. So I feel like these companies, they are helping enable that.
NVIDIA, I think back in January there at JPM announced a big deal that they'd done with Lilly, I think, in the field. So it's definitely a trend. Where are you seeing the biggest opportunities for AI, the next breakthroughs coming through for AI in the next couple of years?
I guess I'm biased as a scientist, but I think like the biggest breakthrough will come when AI models will truly generalize, when they know science. I see this happening in two layers. The first is that models that capture how small molecules interact with protein rather than memorizing examples, like really learning that. And on top of that, learning context, like binding doesn't happen in isolation. It happens inside cells alongside many other processes. So models that can combine this robust interaction learning with biological context, I think they will really change early drug discovery.
And I guess I asked you about a couple of years looking forward, but in AI, we really sometimes talk about months, right? It's the changes are coming so quickly.
I hope so. I think the initial discovery is fast, yeah. But then what happens next is there's still other bottlenecks on the way.
A couple of days ago, February 11th, was the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Now, as a woman, a CSO, a co-founder in biotech, you've had this international career. You're at London, McGill in Canada. You're over in Berkeley as well, in Israel too. What sort of challenges have you faced, or what have you observed for women in the pharma and drug discovery fields? Is there a drive to get more women involved?
So I would say it's not necessarily specific to pharma and drug discovery. I would say maybe general in science. I think the general challenge, the way I see it, is usually in the first impression. This is the part where you don't have control on what the other people think of you. Their preconceived notion about who you are. You don't have control at that moment. So I definitely felt many times, the surprise when I talk to people. So I see that they didn't necessarily think of me what they see after a while. So that's what I see as the biggest challenge. But the best way is just don't let it decide what you are or not. Stay focused on whatever you have to bring to the table. And I think if you try to bring to the table what you have early, you take the control back and you get to control on what they think about you. So just stay focused in whatever you have.
Have you seen any progress in recent years in terms of representation or leadership opportunities or support for women in biotech?
I think there's definitely progress. I see women around me a lot. I know the statistic shows that more women are at the top, more women at leadership roles, even though they're still not they're still the minority. But the way I see it is, I think the real impact in the numbers will come when we solve the problem at the initial stage, like I do with small molecules. If I have daughters and I see the challenge. Even then, they now have a role model of a scientist, and I still see the challenge in young age. So if we could build their confidence at young age, I think we'll see progress later on. That's the key solution in my eyes.
And in your career, have there been any initiatives or mentors that have had a positive effect on you, male or female?
Yeah, definitely. My supervisor in my PhD, Avital, she was a woman. She is a woman, and my postdoc supervisor, Brandon Shia, they're both really believed in me, and I think when I saw they believed in me being an independent researcher, and it really helped me build my confidence to be such. So I think it's really important to work with the right people that can that you enjoy working with, and that can give you credit when you deserve that, and that is really empowering.
And for girls or students who are interested in pursuing careers in science, whether in academia or starting a biotech of their own, what sort of advice could you give to them as they're setting out on this journey?
I think I always give the same advice in different ways, but I think the advice is to keep like the larger goal in mind all the time. Like think about it, like the world needs what you specifically can bring. Science needs many types of thinkers, not just one type. So if you focus on that, on the larger goal, all the rest becomes noise, and it wouldn't matter. So, and even if you don't succeed sometimes, the greater goal is still there, directing you. You stay focused on your purpose, and keep learning and keep moving forward.
Let's look a little bit forward now. What should we be expecting from Profit over the next year or two? Are there any milestones? Are you moving into new directions?
And personally, I'm here in this business truly to cure disease. This is my goal. So I think over the next year or two, I'm trying to direct everything we do towards that. I want to see Profit and the team grow so that we will, make the platform increasingly rigorous and applicable, and that we can generate many high quality potential real hits at scale. That's my goal.
And will we see you at any conferences, events, or industry gatherings this year? Are there going to be places people can meet Profit?
I know we're going to be in May at Boston at the BioIT. You can catch us there. We're in LinkedIn. You can follow us on LinkedIn. It's Profit with pro-fat. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for talking to us today. I really appreciate it. It's so wonderful to hear a little bit about the company and all of the work that you're doing, the partnerships you've got. Thanks for joining us today on Beyond Biotech.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
That's it for this episode. Don't forget to check out all the latest news and analysis at Labiotech.eu. I hope wherever you are in the world, you have a great week ahead. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join us again next time for another Beyond Biotech.